In a world where legacy and innovation collide under the constant scrutiny of the public eye, the quiet rebellion of a young woman is now making global headlines. Vivian Jenna Wilson, the transgender daughter of billionaire tech mogul Elon Musk, has stepped into the spotlight. But not for reasons rooted in Silicon Valley empires or digital revolutions. Instead, she's found her own stage, far from the circuits and satellites that defined her father's fame. On May 15th, Vivian made her modeling debut in a bold, unapologetic campaign for Wildfang, a fashion brand known for its inclusivity, progressive values, and unwavering support for the LGBTQ+ community. The timing is poetic. Launched in celebration of Pride Month, the campaign not only champions visibility, but reclaims identity in spaces where it has too often been denied. For Vivian, it's more than a professional gig. It's a powerful declaration. Her public appearance is the first since she legally distanced herself from her father, going as far as changing her name and severing legal ties with the Musk surname. This decision, which captured the public's attention in 2022, was seen by many as a personal revolt against Elon Musk's controversial stances on gender identity, including his highly publicized critiques of pronouns and transgender activism. Now, years later, she reemerges not in an interview, not in a memoir, but on her own terms, in the form of luminous editorial shots, fierce poses, and a quietly defiant smile that speaks volumes. Wildfang's campaign, filled with vibrant colors, fluid silhouettes, and unapologetic slogans, isn't just fashion. It's philosophy stitched in fabric. And Vivian is no side figure. She is front and center, appearing alongside other queer icons in scenes meant to celebrate empowerment, joy, and the radical beauty of authenticity. It's a striking contrast to the world she grew up in, where technology shaped reality, but identity felt like an afterthought. While Elon Musk builds futures with rockets and neural interfaces, Vivian has chosen a path rooted in the now, in the body, in the truth of living out loud. There's irony, yes, but also poetry. Because in this story, legacy isn't inherited, it's rewritten. The daughter of one of the most powerful men in the world is not basking in wealth or privilege. She's forging her name with cameras, light, and unapologetic pride. She isn't tweeting. She isn't debating. She's walking boldly, dressed in Wildfang, wrapped not in armor, but in agency. And in doing so, she forces a conversation far larger than fashion or family. It's a narrative that challenges expectations, reclaims space, and dares to ask, what happens when you step out of someone else's shadow and finally shine in your own light? But behind the powerful visuals and social celebration lies a far more complicated story. One laced with tension, estrangement, and a deep fracture between father and daughter that the world has quietly watched unfold. Vivian's decision to cut ties with Elon Musk wasn't simply a youthful act of defiance. It was, according to court records and those close to the situation, an emotional culmination of years of discomfort, disillusionment, and growing resentment toward a public figure whose ideologies often clashed violently with her own identity. In 2022, when Vivian filed legal documents to officially change her name and gender marker, she made her intentions unambiguous. She wanted nothing to do with her biological father. I no longer live with or wish to be related to my biological father in any way, shape, or form, she stated. The words were chilling in their clarity, and they triggered a media firestorm. Elon Musk, known for dominating headlines with space missions and Twitter takeovers, now found himself at the center of a painfully personal drama. At the same time he was boasting about free speech and launching rockets to Mars, critics accused him of being tone-deaf, even hostile, toward issues of gender identity. His now infamous tweet mocking pronouns suck, became a rallying cry for some and a red flag for others. For Vivian, it may have been the breaking point. The Musk empire, gleaming with innovation and financial dominance, had no place for a daughter trying to define her own truth in a world where that truth is often met with derision. And so she vanished from the spotlight, not in shame, but in survival. Friends say she spent those years rediscovering who she was, far from the blinding glare of her last name. She retreated into education, into community, into self-preservation. And though Elon continued to make headlines, buying Twitter, arguing with politicians, and debating AI safety, Vivian remained silent. Until now. Her appearance in the Wildfang campaign wasn't just a modeling job. It was a rupture, a shot across the bow of the cultural and familial legacy she had rejected. And for the first time, the public got a glimpse of her not as the transgender child of Elon Musk, but as a young woman standing proudly in her own narrative. Of course, the internet wasted no time reigniting the firestorm. Some praised her courage, others accused her of attention-seeking. Musk himself remained publicly silent, though sources close to him claimed he was hurt but unsurprised. The rift, it seems, has only widened. What could have been a quiet reconciliation, a softening of stances in the face of a daughter's self-actualization, remains an open wound. And yet, the campaign persists, blazing across social media, magazine spreads, and city billboards, not just as fashion, but as confrontation. Vivian's smile, steely and serene, dares the world to look again, not at Elon, but at her. And behind that gaze is a question that still burns unanswered. Can love survive when identity is not just misunderstood, but rejected? Suddenly, the public's perception shifted. The images of Vivian Wilson modeling Wildfang's Pride Month collection weren't just circulating, they were igniting. Online forums exploded. Editorials debated her symbolism. LGBTQ+ advocates hailed her as a rising icon, a bold contrast to the oppressive dynamics many queer youth face when coming from conservative or high-profile families. Vivian was no longer just the daughter of Elon Musk. She was now the face of a movement that reclaims visibility on its own terms. Her presence became both a political and cultural flashpoint, amplified by the gravity of who she used to be in the public imagination. Commentators began dissecting every element of the shoot. The shirt that read, "Power is pronouns," the unapologetically queer styling, the way she looked directly into the lens as if daring the world to challenge her right to be seen. It was no accident. Wildfang confirmed in an interview that Vivian had full creative control over her visuals and messaging. She didn't want to be in the campaign. She wanted to be the campaign. Her story was written into every frame, from the bold posture she held to the hand-lettered messages woven into each garment. The fashion world took notice, too. Suddenly, Vivian was being courted by other inclusive labels, queer artists, and even trans rights organizations hoping to align with her growing influence. But with the spotlight came a storm. Paparazzi began tracking her every move. Tabloids published invasive pieces speculating about her private life, her mental health, and her strained family ties. Social media platforms flooded with polarizing takes. Right-wing influencers mocked her identity, using her campaign as fodder for clickbait outrage. The hate was venomous, and familiar to any trans person navigating public life. But Vivian didn't flinch. Instead, she responded the only way she knew how, with action. She posted a single image on her verified Instagram, standing alone against a wall painted in rainbow gradients, with the caption, "They tried to write me out. I rewrote the page." That caption was shared over 100,000 times in a matter of hours. Her message had landed. This wasn't about revenge or rebellion anymore. This was revolution through representation. By the end of the week, she had been interviewed by queer-focused media outlets like Them and Autostraddle, carefully curating her words and refusing to center her father in the discussion. "This isn't about Elon," she told one reporter. "This is about me reclaiming my narrative. I'm not a symbol, I'm a person. I just happened to be standing where my truth needed to be seen." In those interviews, she spoke not just for herself, but for the thousands of LGBTQ+ youth estranged from families who never tried to understand them. The campaign's impact grew beyond fashion. It was now about cultural reckoning, about who gets to speak, who gets to be seen, and who gets to define the future. Vivian's defiance had become a blueprint, and the world, whether ready or not, was watching. Ultimately, Vivian Wilson's debut was never just about fabric, photo shoots, or magazine spreads. It was about reclaiming space that had long been denied to her. The public, now fully awakened to her story, began reframing their understanding of not just Vivian, but the invisible battles that so many queer and trans individuals face, especially those born into privilege and power, where identity can feel more like a liability than a birthright. As Pride Month continued, Wildfang reported a surge in engagement and sales, particularly among younger demographics who saw Vivian not as a celebrity child, but as someone like them. Someone who had survived rejection, silencing, and societal pressure, only to return stronger, louder, and beautifully visible. The campaign sparked conversations across dinner tables, newsrooms, and classrooms alike. It inspired hashtags, think pieces, and support networks, even while it stirred controversy in more conservative circles. But through it all, Vivian remained poised, choosing not to clap back at critics or comment on her father's ongoing silence. Her power now came from presence, not provocation. Industry insiders predict Vivian may continue her modeling work, But those close to her suggest she's more focused on education, art, and supporting grassroots LGBTQ+ initiatives behind the scenes. One source noted that she's quietly been donating a portion of her earnings to shelters for homeless trans youth, further proof that her re-entry into public life is about purpose, not profit. Her story, messy, public, and deeply human, offers something rare in the age of viral celebrity. A reminder that authenticity, when wielded courageously, can dismantle dynasties of silence. Elon Musk, for his part, remains characteristically opaque. He hasn't addressed his daughter's modeling debut publicly, choosing instead to post cryptic memes and tweets about artificial intelligence and Mars colonies. Whether that's his version of denial or damage control is anyone's guess. But perhaps that's the point. Vivian's journey doesn't require his commentary anymore. It exists with or without his blessing. And therein lies the quiet, bittersweet triumph. She has stepped outside of his narrative to write her own, replacing the sterile logic of the tech world with something infinitely more radical: lived truth. For young viewers tuning in, Vivian's rise represents more than just a fashion campaign. It's a mirror reflecting what's possible when you stop asking for acceptance and start demanding your own reflection in the world around you. In classrooms, clinics, shelters, and social media feeds, her name is becoming a symbol. Not because she courted attention, but because she endured erasure and came back sharper, clearer, and more whole. Her Wildfang images will fade in time, as all campaigns do. But the message she carried, of identity earned, not inherited, will linger. Vivian Wilson may have once walked away from one of the most powerful names in the world, but in doing so, she carved something even more formidable, a legacy not defined by lineage, but by truth.